Great. So again, welcome back everyone to the regular SUSTA meeting. So we're meeting bi-weekly. Today is November 6th. Next meeting will be November 20th at the same time, 8 p.m. EST. So actually, congrats, or I don't know how to say it, but like we've gained 1 more hour of sleep today, at least in the EST zone. So yay to that. Yeah. Okay, so let me quickly start sharing my screen, and if people are joining, they will be joining us along the way. So we're recording the meeting so that nothing gets passed. Okay, cool. So let me know if you can see my screen. Yeah, great. Let me quickly just send a reminder email message. Oh, actually, Victoria, will you be able to send the reminder for in our SUSTA chat that the meeting is on, and we're welcome everyone to join who wanted to join us?
Yeah, sure.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so today is our 5th GBM in this fall 2022 semester, and we're going to talk about some experience from our members of SUSTA, in particular the club at the University of Florida, about their experiences in fundraising and organizing events in the community. So as usual, we will be running alongside the following agenda. We will have our first speaker, who is today Alexandra Nelson, who is the president of the Ukrainian Student Association at the University of Florida. And after her presentation, we will also talk a little bit more about some open floor questions, and any comment suggestions will be welcomed by the end of the meeting. So, okay, so Sasha, I will let you take the floor.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sasha. As Maria said, I'm the president of the Ukrainian Student Association here at the University of Florida. And we have about a medium-sized community of Ukrainians and Ukrainian supporters. We're definitely not as huge as some of the universities in the Boston area and in California, but we try to do what we can. And so today I'll talk a little bit about one of our recent events from last month, which was the prayer vigil. The event was officially titled Prayer for Peace in Ukraine. And this event was actually focused kind of on commemorating the lives lost in Ukraine the way we did in the prayer vigil in the spring. So it was actually not a fundraising event, but we ended up raising about $1,400, which was kind of a interesting situation. So I'll talk about a few key takeaways from that, and I guess why I think we raised so much money. So basically, this event was put on by the Ukrainian Student Association in collaboration with one of our local churches. And the way we kind of did that is we had a friend of the club who got in touch with the church, and he was coordinating some of the music organization and the prayer at that event, and we did kind of the advertising on campus for it. And so in that way we were able to engage both the campus community of students, local Ukrainians, and also church members. And I think that was partially why it was so successful, especially because
can we ask questions along the way, or shall we ask them after you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Is there a question right now?
Yeah, I actually have a question like along the way. So you mentioned that you've had the first of all the friend of a club. So how can you like tell us more about like how were you able to reach out to the person and like how it all happened?
Yeah, so his name is actually Gregory. He works in the graduate school, and he does marketing for the graduate school. We kind of met him through one of the other officers in our club. He previously did an advertising poster for another one of our campaigns, and he's an attendee of this church, so he kind of got in touch with the leaders of the church and proposed this event to them, like, hey, would you be willing to do a prayer vigil for Ukraine? And they agreed to do it, and they kind of took on the role of organizing all of that. It was one of the first events where we weren't the main organizers, but they were, in terms of all of the logistics, the music and everything. And our role was just kind of advertising the event and showing up to it, I guess. But yeah, it was really successful in terms of donations because we weren't even trying to collect that much money. As at all of our events, we had, you know, a donations jar, and we mentioned that any money that people donate will be used for medical aid. But we were still surprised by how many donations we collected. And my takeaway was the reason for that was because it was at a church and we had some of the church members there. So the way I think of it is if you do an event at a church and the church advertises it to the church community, then a lot of the church members will go. That's kind of, I mean, church members kind of go to all the events of their church. They're people who are pretty dedicated to attending those events that the church puts on. So you get a pretty good attendance of people outside of your community. I thought that helped us a lot. And then also church members are kind of in the habit of donating. Most churches ask for donations for their church or for various charity projects that they do. So they're the type of people who will donate. Also, if you look at demographics, churchgoers are often like middle-aged or older people, which from who you can collect more donations than students, I guess. And also we were able to engage new people in our community. So it was almost like a bit of an outreach event because it wasn't just the Ukrainians and people interested in Ukraine who came to this event. It was, you know, people who just attend this church and happened to go because it was an event hosted at the church.
Can you tell a little more about how you advertised this event on campus?
So we put up posters on campus about a week before the event, and then we created a Facebook event and invited people from like the local Ukrainians of Gainesville Facebook page and our group's Facebook page and our Instagram, which has a fair amount of followers. I guess we didn't do anything like particular to advertise. It's kind of what we do for all of our events. We don't do posters for all our events, but yeah, that's kind of the main advertising we did.
Okay, sounds good. Anyone wants to ask a question?
So I guess the main thing that I would take away from this event is engaging like a church or a religious community can be very beneficial in terms of like the donations you get. It's not something that you immediately think of because maybe for some people it's outside of their comfort zone to like reach out to like a church that they don't attend. But if you have some sort of middle person maybe who like a friend who attends a church and they can ask their church like, hey, would you be willing to host this event? It could really be a great location to host it and really reach a good and a new community.
Yeah, that sounds like a great suggestion. I actually was wondering, so right now in the hindsight, would you say that if you were to know that people would be willing to donate, would you make it a donation campaign along the way, not only like a vigil, but also announce that if you want, we will be collecting money for this, this, and that, and you will be able to donate in these ways?
Yeah, so at the event, actually, the people who were leading the prayer, they announced like, so the prayer and the music took place, and then at the very end, there was like, you could take a candle, and then there was like an offering plate, like the typical way you collect money at a church, it was an offering plate. And they announced like any offerings that you make will be going to the Ukrainian Student Association for medical aid that they buy. So I'm not sure what else we could have really done to promote the fundraising aspect even more. I mean, I don't think it would really be appropriate to like sell stuff for a donation like at this event. But it ended up working out really great the way it was. And also just yesterday, I was at a fundraising benefits concert for Ukraine that also took place inside a church, inside a different church. And I noticed there as well, a lot of the audience were people who regularly attend that church, and they seem to give pretty big donations. So I think it's the like aspect of engaging the church community that really helps.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Also, can you like elaborate a little more where this money went to?
Yeah, so we actually worked with Media, which is a nonprofit started by Sasha Herok, one of the members of SUSTA. And so they have a deal with the North American Rescue to buy tourniquets at a price of $22 versus the regular market price, which is $30. So we kind of agreed with their nonprofit that we would order the tourniquets through them. And now we're shipping them just through some personal connections area. There's volunteers receiving it in Ukraine and then distributing it to soldiers. But that's kind of how we went about spending the money.
And you collected money kind of like in a bank account, Venmo, and how was it
Yeah.
operationalized in terms of you collecting money and then transferring it to Maria?
hmm Absolutely. So at this event, all the money was collected in cash. It was basically all collected on this offering plate at the church. Um, and I just deposited it into a bank account, and then I did a Venmo transfer to Maria. There was a small, commission fee, but that's pretty much the case for anything. It's the case for wiring, for PayPal. It's just kind of part of doing business, I think.
Yeah. So Maria has Venmo, which is kind of like a seller's account. Yeah.
I believe they have a Venmo that's special for nonprofits. I don't know if it charges a smaller percentage than like a purely business Venmo. But yeah, it was
I
pretty
believe
easy to use.
sorry to interrupt, but I do believe they're a registered charity. So they actually
Yeah.
don't incur the same fees. So yeah.
Yeah, I know they have a fee because we compared the different fees on transferring money through different platforms. But yeah, since they're a registered charity, it's probably lower than for a standard business.
Okay. Sounds good. And like in general, this donation kind of like fundraising campaign was positioned as something that the funds will be used for the humanitarian aid or like medical aid.
For medical aid. Yeah, we went into it saying that it'll be used for some form of medical aid.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
And originally, because it wasn't a fundraising campaign, we thought we would get, $200, then we would just donate it to United 24 or some other charity. But then when we saw that we had over $1,000, we decided we would buy physical items because sometimes it motivates donors to see like a physical item being purchased with their money. Even if you donate to a credible charity, it's just sometimes not as rewarding as getting sort of a physical count of items that their money was able to buy.
Yeah, definitely. Now you have to go back to the next service at church and say that, like, thank you to all the people who donated.
Yeah, we definitely and made sure to send them a thank you email and yeah, definitely show our gratitude for this event that they put on. I think that's a very important aspect of engaging with the community.
Did you see the increase in following on your Insta page or on
Let me see.
Facebook?
I'm not the one who tracks the social medias the most. It's one of our other officers, so I can't say honestly.
Okay, because that could be like a side effect of having such exposure to a new audience. Okay, that sounds good. So, by the way, like in your clubs, did you do something similar to this kind of event, collaboration with the religious organizations?
At least for us, we personally have never partnered with a religious organization. There is, at least in the Columbus area, there is an organization called UCAO, which is the Ukrainian Cultural Association of Ohio. And they have done things with a specific church. But we most likely will partner up with them, and for probably a bigger event, do some stuff with them. But as of now, no, we haven't partnered with any other religious organizations. It's mainly been, other student organizations around campus, whether it be bigger, smaller, cultural, or, whatever it be.
Oh, okay. So you partnered with other organizations on campus, right?
Yes. Next semester, we've been talking with the Filipino Student Association to possibly partner with them. There aren't too many other Slavic organizations on campus. So, but we have had some talks with the Filipino Student Association. We also did, I forgot what the exact organization was called, but last year we did partner up with a wellness organization to raise awareness for mental health, in addition to, raising funds for humanitarian aid for Ukraine. So that was pretty cool too. And we had a whole section in our student oval reserved, and they had like yoga sessions, painting sessions, and it was all around like around the time of finals. So it was all, for de-stress and everything like that.
Or stress even more.
Yeah.
In the lack of time. I'm kidding.
May I ask how exactly you collected money in that event? Did people sort of pay to participate in the yoga session and painting?
No.
Is that how that worked?
For us, we had our own separate table. And like with those, they invited us to join them, and of course we said yes. The way we did it is we had a bunch of pins with like little different graphics. I have a few on my backpack. And we got a couple graphics that our president at the time knew someone that like made these graphics, and she gave us permission to use them. And we put them on these pins, and we also had these like blue and yellow, like it's like almost like, like envision like the breast cancer awareness like ribbon. It was like one of those, except it was like the blue and yellow ribbon. And we just asked for, if you like any donation, you could pick like a pin. And it was pretty successful. We raised a decent amount of money. I don't know exactly how much, but we got a decent amount of money.
Sounds cool. I think in the last meeting, someone shared this information as well, that they've been having their like tabling event, and they were selling goods, and they didn't put a price tag on the goods. And they were able to collect something like over $1,000. Meanwhile, if they were to set a price tag like $5 or whatever amount of dollars, they would only collect a couple of hundreds. So definitely kind of like letting it free flow can yield definitely higher result.
Right. Yeah. And that honestly got people in some instances. I definitely see the advantages of just having a free flow, any donation. We plan on doing something like that again in the future. But yeah, it honestly engaged some people even more, because those small little like ribbons, that number one, it came out of our organization's budget, and it probably costs like 50 cents, 25 cents to make one of them. And we had people donating like $5, $10, for like, and they took like 2 ribbons. So it was pretty successful. It's definitely, it could definitely be an advantage to let the price free flow.
Yeah, so that was actually us 2 weeks ago. We had our thing where we sold cookies, and we were able to also collect from Maria and collect a lot of donations. So that was very successful for us as well. I will also say last weekend, I haven't seen exactly how much we made from it yet, but we ran a really cool fundraiser where we cooperated with one of the local restaurants, and they actually offered that like anyone that uses a code, they would donate 25% of whatever the customer paid to our organization directly. And then our organization donates it to Maria. So that's another way.
How did you approach the restaurant, and what type of cuisine was that?
So actually, in this case, this is a restaurant that's quite popular with the students. And from my understanding, they've done this before. So they actually wrote to our Instagram account and reached out. That being said, I think it's also possible to reach out to restaurants at any point and ask for some sort of cooperation. I'm sure many would be open to do that. So this specific restaurant was a chain that's available around the Boston area. And they were actually able to organize it so any of the restaurants within Boston who use that code, any person who went to any restaurant within Boston who used that code would have part of their bill donated to you, right, to this organization. So that was pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh,
we at Ohio State are actually doing something like that in a couple weeks. We partner with a local cafe. It's called Cielo Cafe. It's right next to campus. It's pretty popular among the students. We reached out to them because they've done a lot of community events as a local Columbus business. You know, it's beneficial for them too. We're going to do a similar sort of thing where, you know, out of all the profits that they make on one day, you know, like 15%, I think it is, no matter what, like is going to go to us to donate to Erasmus. So that's something that we also doing. In addition to that, we're also actually I'll leave the rest of this for like open announcements. But yeah, that's, I think definitely reaching out to local businesses is definitely like a great idea.
oh, okay. But since we're talking, I just wanted to like clarify a couple of things. So in your case, Andrew, you partnered with one cafe, which was popular among students, right?
Yes.
And in your case, Taras, you were saying that you partnered with a chain, and if the person would use a code at any restaurant in this chain across like all city, they would donate whatever percentage from that, right?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, I see. So I see that there is definitely an advantage of like what Andrew mentioned, that they're donating 15% of their daily turnover.
No, so we have a specific day set with them. It's I believe it's November 9th, excuse me. December 9th. So out of like everything that they earn, no matter what, like out of all their profits that they earn from that day, 15% of that is going to go to us to donate.
That's impressive. That's like pretty, I can imagine that that should be quite a good amount of money.
Yeah, especially we scheduled it on purpose so it's closer towards finals. So people are going to get their morning coffee, most definitely. So that's another like marketing strategy, I guess, that our executive board used. But I go there like a couple times during the week and I've almost never seen it not busy. So.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that's actually very, very good to like good terms of the deal, I would say. And again, like if you spread a little more like information, like word of mouth among like students on campus, you can even like but possibly attract even more people to participate in that. But if they are giving you 15% independently of whether someone says like that they are with you or not, you will get the money. So even that doesn't doesn't affect you.
Right. Yeah. We have professors or our advisors in the Slavic department. In addition to, our professors are very open, or most of them are at least very open to, you know, have students that are a part of any organization come up and, you know, give an open announcement. We've had multiple of our executive board officers make like a statement in the beginning of class, be like, hey, you know, I'm a part of this I'm a part of the Ukrainian Society. We're doing this on this day. Like come by, you know, help us raise some money for humanitarian aid, like go buy a cup of coffee. So we have our executive board members are doing that, in addition to, and our general body members are doing that in addition to us pushing out on our social media as word of mouth to our friends and putting up flyers around campus.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
So I have a follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Going back to the fundraiser scheme, where it's basically you have a code for your club and you get 15% of the profit whenever someone uses a code. So I see that's kind of a popular way of doing a fundraiser for clubs at universities. And I guess I've only encountered this like once in my experience, but from my understanding, it's really just your own members who tend to come to that event. So if your members are spending like $10 and then only like a few of those dollars are going back to your organization from that fundraiser, is it really like efficient at the end of the day, or how do you spread that circle to be beyond just your members coming to the fundraiser, which doesn't end up being very profitable?
The way we did it, we had a few ways of reaching out to the MIT community. Actually, not only MIT. So first of all, right before, I sent something. We have dorm spam here, where pretty much you send it to every single student's email account, and we just quickly explain what's going on. Just saying, 25% of your bill will go to charity, and just advertise it that way. Additionally, also, so essentially, in our situation, this ran from 4 to 9 o'clock, and we also just arranged shifts where, for example, I think from 4 to 6, I stood outside and just handed out flyers. And just whenever someone was walking by, just like I told them, like, oh, right here in this Oath Pizza location, you can come in and you can buy a pizza, and it's essentially 25% will go to a charity to help Ukrainians. And I found that, well, just handing out flyers, you'll only really get a few people coming in. But what was really good is, and I think in the future we should do this even more, is specifically people who are planning events on that day. If you reach out to them and say, if you're looking for a meal or anything, we'd really appreciate it. Or because we had some staff, for example, that were arranging staff meetings, and they came in and bought some 15 boxes of pizza and used the code, and that obviously was a big contribution than just a single person coming in.
That's smart. That's real smart.
So do you think you would be able to, I'm not sure if I understood this correctly, would you be able to hand out flyers to the people who are already in line, like waiting to order at this pizza place, or do you think the business would kind of think that's crossing the line?
We didn't do that. We might have been standing outside, and people who were walking into the restaurant, we did hand a few of those flyers into them, and for most of those people, they were already going in, so they were happy to use the code, because why not? So yeah, for part of the time, I just stood off to the side and just handed it as people were walking by. For the other part, we even got closer to the entrance, and the business was actually, they didn't seem to have any problems with it.
But actually, Sasha, addressing your question, I've encountered people kind of like recruiting people in line at Chipotle on the university. It was some Black American organization. I don't remember, but like they were collecting money for schools in the Gainesville. And I just came up, stood in line, and Chipotle on the university at around 6 p.m. It's a very busy, crowded place. So we stood in line, and they just approached us, gave us the flyer, and I asked them what they were doing, and they just told me like that they're fundraising, and like 25% from like if you give to the cashier that flyer, or like tell them that you're with this organization, then 25% from that sale Chipotle will distribute to their back to organization for their fundraiser. So I think it depends, kind of like, I think what Taras mentioned is on the safe side, and actually maybe business will even encourage doing that, because you are promoting their place in the end of the day. You're increasing their profit for the day, right? But at the same time, I think it would depend, because what Andrew explained, like the restaurant agreed to give 15% independently what effort you are putting. So I think that's a great deal if you're able to negotiate. But even if not, in the end of the day, like you're maximizing the profit of your own fundraiser. So yeah.
And also, sorry, I forgot to mention, it didn't happen while I was there, but I came back later in the evening to buy myself pizza to help. And then I noticed that Sasha actually put the flyers in the restaurant on the tables as well. and they didn't seem to have an issue with that either. So people who came in could see the flyers on the tables, and yeah, that might help as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Cool. So I wanted also to give Sasha a moment to talk about their other event that they had in one of their GBMs with the guest speaker here. So Sasha, would you like to tell us a couple of words about how
Yeah, of course. So this was just our general body meeting that happened last Thursday. This is a meeting that we have once a month that kind of has students and various community members gathering, and we kind of either highlight a cultural aspect of Ukraine, or as we did this time, we had a guest speaker. And actually the way we met Dr. Jones was he reached out to our student association for our very first GBM. He emailed us saying, hey, sorry, I can't come to your meeting. I'm actually in Ukraine right now, but I'll be back in about 10 days. And I'd like to stay in touch with your student association. And I was just surprised that he even found out about us. And I obviously used that opportunity to get to know him more and ask him to be a guest speaker. So basically, he's an internal medicine physician at our university's hospital, and he works for an organization called Med Global, which is kind of an alliance of American physicians that do medical work in conflict zones. So when the war in Ukraine started, within about 10 days, I think, he went to Ukraine to work through Met Global. And as a guest speaker, he kind of shared his experiences there. He shared that Med Global works directly with the Ukrainian Ministry of Health and some of the things he did there. He's also a chemical weapons specialist. So that was some very interesting information that he was able to share that people like might not read about and find out just on the news. So I think that was very engaging for our audience, and also it definitely built the credibility of our organization, because it kind of shows, you know, oh, we have partners like physicians from our university working with us. It's not just some small group of students. So I think overall it was a very successful event. Unfortunately, because it's midterm season, like we didn't have as large of an audience as we would have liked to, but still for the people who attended, they very much enjoyed the event. That's kind of an overview.
Thank you, Sasha. And I think that this was just a great, how would I put it in the words? So while I think these are two events are linked, so to say, because as far as I see, like one of the very powerful direction where we would channel our funds that we fundraise is some medical assistance, which is the first like emergency need, and also people are independently of their like background beliefs where they stand, they are more willing to donate for some medical cause, because everyone understands that the health and the life of a person is like of the utmost value in most of societies, and people would it is an easy message to deliver to someone that we are donating, we are collecting money to save someone's life, that is like easily transferable and applicable to each of the person, because I think we all have been to doctors and we all know how much this stuff costs, and like how scared we are when like we have a paper cut on our finger. But yeah, so that's like a very powerful direction, and I've heard here and now that some people are not very convenient donating for like military aid, or some people are not believing or like less willing to donate for any like other cause rather than for the medical aid. And inviting the person who has a credibility, who has like a medical degree, who has been in the front line, especially in Ukraine, and has seen that, he can confirm from his personal expertise that this is very important to help people to improve their health, especially in the situation where it is can be like easily damaged. I think that supports the cause 100%, and also is kind of like has a lot of purposes. One of them is educational, because even if the person who comes already donates, but they can share this further, like more educated information in their network, that would also attract more attention. And as Sasha mentioned, like you never know where these connections will come from. So so definitely, I mean, if you have an opportunity also to reach out, I'm pretty sure that a lot of doctors are, due to the choice of their profession, I think they're more inclined to participate in the campaigns like this, like, or volunteer for some organization, even if it's not like Ukrainian organization, they can definitely get involved with your organization, and maybe they know someone who can participate, speak for your event. So that's my take on it. That's how I see it. And I see like a great value in, of course, like great thanks to doctors like Dr. Riley, who does that, and many more doctors who do that. Yeah, so by the way, I don't know if you've heard, like we've been announcing it for multiple times, that there is a project, telehelp, which is run by the one of our member organizations at Stanford, and they are constantly recruiting volunteers, like volunteer doctors, volunteer interpreters. You can find the information on our page, like on SUSTA page. On Instagram, we have made a post about that. And most importantly, they are looking for patients. So please do spread this information in your community. The patient needs to be in Ukraine. Yeah.
So that means they're not doing help to refugees outside of Ukraine necessarily?
I think that is the good question to ask someone from their organization, but I think that might be the case, if I'm not mistaken.
I actually, yeah, sorry, I met with one of their members after last meeting, and he did say that they provide both medical and psychological sort of help support, and it also goes to refugees that are currently outside of Ukraine.
Okay,
that's great, because I actually think sometimes they need more help because they're in a country where they don't speak the foreign language, and getting access to medical care and communicating with medical professionals is sometimes even harder when you're not at home.
Yeah, so please do spread the word in your network also, like personal student network, any network, because this is a big initiative.
I have another follow-up question. So you said they're still currently looking for medical professionals and interpreters. Would you say the program is up and running? Like, if there are people who are potentially looking for medical help, can they get it, or is it still in the phase of being established?
I will be speaking from the best of my knowledge. Taras, please help me out here. So as far as I know, this is like a completely like a separate self-standing project that is up and running, and they have the visits for some time already, for a couple of months, if not more, like half a year or so. And it is like very active campaign. So they're recruiting on a constant basis. If you find their, I think you can find them as telehelp, like at telehelp on Instagram. So they have a very regular announcements when they are especially in a need of a particular profile of people who will be contributing. But from my best knowledge, what I've heard, that if you can spread awareness about this initiative among people who are in need, among patients potential, that would help them out a lot, because surprisingly, the feedback from volunteers was really high in the community, like among US doctors. However, the main challenge is to actually promote the service to the people who might potentially need it, like Ukrainians.
All right, I'll definitely pass it on, because I'm in a lot of groups with Ukrainian refugees from being in Germany over the summer.
Yeah, definitely. So that's why we talk in our meetings about these things. Taras, do you know anything else that I might have misinterpreted or missed?
No, that's exactly what I heard as well. Their main concern right now is they're finding it very difficult to actually reach their target audience of Ukrainians who need this help. So right now it's very important to share it around. I also put a link into the chat, which is the website, I believe.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so we are good on time right now. I just had a couple of outstanding questions to like discuss really quick. So first is the vote for logo. Oh, sorry, I'm not going to do this. So let me quickly jump out of the presentation. So this is I will be sharing this link in the chat here. Please take a look. So in the via this link, you will see the form, Google form, voting for SUSTA logos. So we have prepared with our eBoard team. Great thanks to Victoria, who is here today. She crafted a lot of options here of design of SUSTA logo, and we have how many, like 6 options as of now, and you are free to choose any of the logos that the most appeals to you. And kind of like we want to, our main objective is that we want to put a logo that would clearly associate with the Ukrainian culture, with Ukraine, because I believe that nowadays everyone knows that this is a big country in the Eastern Europe, and we need to reflect it in our logo, which we'll be using across all our platforms. So please take your time, I mean, in this meeting, or if you need more time to think and assess, please do express your opinion. Yes, Andrew.
I just have a question regarding the logo. Would we then have a Ukrainian equivalent logo? Because I understand, like, you know, like SUSTA and like USUA are like the 2 translations of the organization. So I guess my question would be like, why have the Ukrainian translation for the logo in English instead of USUA, having it USUA and being like sort of the same thing? So having like a USUA logo for the English translation, then a SUSTA logo for the Ukrainian translation, like in Ukrainian.
Great question. Does anyone
Like
want to address it?
If you're reading that in English, that like SUSTA, like SUSTA, like that wouldn't make sense to translate in English with those letters. But if you did USUA and another one with like SUSTA, like the actual like Ukrainsky bukve, then, you know, like I feel like that would make a lot of sense.
That's a great question. So long story short, I will try to convey it with as much knowledge as I know. So SUSTA is kind of like a long-standing brand name, so to say, and it's similar to SUSK. If you know the Canadian organization, they use the Latin letters, but they are Спілка Українських Співтовариств Канади, something like that. But anyhow, so their name, kind of like their name, SUSK, is an abbreviation which is put in Latin letters, but it's like when you de-abbreviate it, it will be reading in Slavic language. That's exactly like how SUSTA is. And why I'm mentioning that, because I understand that this was kind of like these were sister organizations, and at some point when SUSTA was created, it will kind of like followed the example, the path that SUSK used in their naming as well. And that's how most of the people recognize this community of the US student organizations. So you're right that it does not make sense for someone who doesn't speak Slavic language, but it is a trade-off, as I see right now, to kind of preserve the heritage and the brand name and brand awareness that we already have among like all previous generations of people who somehow were attached to this organization, or try to promote the new brand name and kind of try to explain that relationship between what USUA means and like how we're related to SUSTA. So it's just for clarity purposes. We are just taking what is already known and remodeling it. Does it answer your question, Andrew?
It does, thank you.
And I mean, I think if anything, you could just create a second logo where you change the SSTA to the Cyrillic equivalents.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
have both, and that would work too.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that'd be pretty nice. That would be pretty nice to have too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are currently trying to identify the design that we want to have, kind of like with the different coloring schemes, mostly. But once it's set, we can definitely remodel it for the like for some materials that we're going to use. We are going to use the Cyrillic letters as well, because then it will be like Kukta, something like that. So it will be hard also to explain for non-Slavic speakers what it means. Will be even more questions. But yeah, definitely a good question. And I think that we had a vote previously on what brand name is more acceptable to use, like what brings more awareness about this organization. So we decided, I believe then at that point, we've decided that SUSTA is more perceptive by like more people in the organization. And also that prior generations, we can use kind of like that as a connection to the people who were previously involved for like any purposes that we are going to reach out, so to say. But yeah, thank you very much for participating in this survey. So the other one more announcement here, just quickly mentioned. So Berkeley University's Ukrainian Association of at Berkeley University, they are doing the marathon. It's like an annual Berkeley marathon, and they reached out to us to help them to promote their event as well. So this is happening next weekend. This is the online marathon that you can sign up at their page, and this is the link to the slides, by the way, that I'm sending in chat. I will duplicate it in the Telegram chat as well, but if you want to take a look at the Instagram page. So basically it just, you can register for the marathon online and run in your city with your friends. And the money for registration will also be channeled to a charity project to rebuild schools. Okay, so before we wrap up this meeting, any other announcements, suggestions, events, what's happening in your clubs, or any initiatives that you want to propose?
Yeah, so we actually received something pretty important recently, Sasha. Just a few days ago, Sasha Horoch from Maria, they actually got a request, official request from a school within Kyiv, because they urgently need generators, because right now they don't have the current supplies to have heating, have electricity for their school. So they actually reached out, and based off of like the amount that Maria currently has, the organization needs to raise $5,000, I believe, to buy the rest of the generators. It's a pretty big school, and there's like students there that are also refugees from Eastern Ukraine. So it's kind of important that we can raise this as soon as possible, especially since especially since soon it's going to be getting even colder, and it's important to get it as soon as possible. So we will likely be starting to run, even though we've had fundraisers the last 2 weeks, we will likely probably need to run one next week or the following week, and hopefully raise as much. And considering we really wanted to get other schools involved as well, because when we work with Northwestern, we were able to generate just in one day with by selling cookies, but well, asking for donations and also giving out cookies. We got over $1,700, and I see University of Florida was really successful with their program as well. And I really do like the idea of reaching out to the church. I think that's really successful, and I think maybe we should discuss that as well in our group. But yeah, so I kind of just wanted to propose, if anyone's interested, we'd really love to work with any other university to raise that same money, to raise that money for that initiative. Yeah.
Who
I can-
would be the contact person for this?
I can leave Sasha's email or mine, and yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I can leave it in the chat, in this chat, or in the Telegram chat, whatever's better, or both.
Yeah, I'll
And
just
yeah.
leave it in this chat in Zoom. I'll add it to presentation, and also we'll duplicate it in the Telegram chat as well.
Okay. Thank you.
So I suggest that you are mentioning this to us because this is the opportunity for some clubs who are currently fundraising and they were thinking of channeling this money for a good cause. They can contact Sasha or you and talk about channeling their raised funds towards this particular campaign. Is it correct?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
And just to give general information, we'd be raising through Maria, and because of their status on Venmo, that actually makes it quite easy. I mean, we could it could also accept cash, but since Maria has its own Venmo, you can even just have the Venmo there, and yeah, it's quite easy to transfer the money to it.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, anything else?
Just a quick question. When you did the cookies fundraiser, did you do like store-bought cookies or homemade ones?
I didn't make the cookies personally. That was Sasha Horoch. But they I believe they bought cookie like mix and made it, and yeah, that's what we gave out.
So it was homemade.
It was homemade.
Just a comment.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any like, you know, restrictions at your universities that you've encountered with that.
Just a comment on that. I guess I would say I would definitely double check with university, because we did a bake sale and we weren't told, like we did a bake sale last year and we made homemade goods and we weren't told, or no one looked up the restrictions, and we got like the university, we got an email from the university saying that we're not allowed to do homemade goods. We're only allowed to do store-bought goods for sales. So I would definitely double check on that, just so you don't get in trouble with anyone.
We'll
I see.
definitely check
That's a very
the
good point.
policies, especially knowing my university is very strict.
Yeah. Okay. That's an important piece of information. And if any of your schools also is doing a new fundraiser anytime soon, so I think that's important. And I mean, I honestly know very little about the Berkeley Club campaign, but potentially you can also, like Sasha or yourself, may reach out to them, since already kind of like have it as a declared goal. Maybe they can like direct some funds towards that, your cause as well. I think that's another opportunity to speed up the process.
Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so just a couple of final words for today. Like our next meeting will be happening in 2 weeks from now, same time, same place, November 20th, Sunday, 8 p.m. EST. And hopefully we will be having in our meeting the SUSC president and other members who will be talking about their activity in Canada, what in general, what activities they do in terms of like fundraising and also some cultural events, and some other exploring some other opportunities for our collaboration possibly. So please join us in 2 weeks, not next Sunday, but in 2 weeks from now, to ask your questions and receive the full answers from the representatives from SUSC. Okay, so I'll stay here for a couple of more minutes. Let me just quickly stop recording.